Hello, Cublets. Welcome back to another Bear With Me with me, BearElliott. Usually it's a movie Monday, but we kind of had a holiday and I was out of town. So it's a terrific movie Tuesday. That's how it's going to be. But we actually have two movies this week because you know I'm going through 52 movies that are released in the year 2016 and doing a fabulous review. You know I worked in the fabulous. So this one I've really been waiting for because if you happen to be a follower of my vlog, you know that I'm kind of a humongous geek and I love comic books. So I was really excited when this one came. It was announced and coming out because it has one of my most favorite comic book villains. Now, what is this movie? Now, if you happen to see the title of this vlog, I'm sure that you figured it out. X-Men Apocalypse. Now, Apocalypse, he has been around since the late 80s, early 90s, and he was really fleshed out in the 2000s when you got his backstory about him being an Egyptian, one of the first mutants ever. Well, this movie here, you know, the X-Men movies kind of loosely follow the comic books and so forth. But this is the third one in this almost like trilogy that's turning out to be a lot more of a trilogy. It's almost like a reboot of the X-Men. First we had X-Men First Class, then we had X-Men Days of Futures Past, and now we have X-Men Apocalypse. Now this picks up in the 80s. The great thing about this new series is that they keep jumping the decades from the 60s to the 70s, and now we're in the 80s. And 80s, now I'm a child of the 80s, so of course I'm going to be totally into the 80s. So I was really happy when they said this one was going to take place in the 80s. And this is where we have our core cast of mutants: Mystique, Professor X, Magneto, and Beast. Those are our main four. Now, these four characters have followed us from the beginning of this reboot-ish to the current one. They're our main characters that we've been following. They have the most history, and we have a returning character from the last movie who was extremely fan popular, and that's Quicksilver, who finally finds that, he finds out and he tells everybody that Magneto's his dad, except he doesn't tell Magneto. If you have not seen this movie, you may want to come back and watch it later because there's spoilers that I want to talk about. We also introduce some of our mainstays in the X-Men universe: Cyclops, Storm, Jean Grey, who's also known as Phoenix, is also known as Marvel Girl, and there's a horde of other names that she's known as. Nightcrawler. So these are our main characters that we get to introduce. We have some cameos from some other fan favorites, such as Jubilee, which we never get to see her power. Supposedly that ended up on the cutting room floor. But what we're doing is we're following Apocalypse from the ancient times of Egypt, where he was basically worshipped as a god, to modern day when he wakes up and is like, I'm going to just totally wipe out the world and the strong shall survive. That's Apocalypse's thing. Now, a lot of negativity was coming out about Apocalypse and how he looked and so forth because of some images that were shown in Entertainment Weekly. I'm happy to say that they've toned down the purple, up the blue, and we have a classic looking Apocalypse who just has a movie twist to him, a little bit more realistic. We also have finally Professor X losing his hair, and we give a reason to it. It just wasn't male pattern baldness. Turns out there's a whole reason why he lost it. Also, we are introduced to Psylocke, who's another fan favorite, and Archangel. Now, if you're a geek like me, you know that Angel, also known as Archangel, when he gets his metal wings from his feathery wings. Well, Angel was one of the original X-Men. They work him into the series in a different kind of way and rewrite from his past original movie origin, which totally sucked. Sorry, totally sucked. So we have Apocalypse. That's hard to say. Apocalypse. We have Apocalypse gathering his four horsemen, because you know if he's Apocalypse, he has to have a horseman. So who does he gather? Storm. We also find out how Storm gets her white hair. That was interesting. I like that twist, that Apocalypse, his whole thing is he amps up everybody else's powers. He also is a harvester of powers, and he has a combination of all kinds of different things going on with him. Technology, to disintegration, to whatever. His essence just gets passed over to other mutants, so he gets their abilities, and Professor X is the one he wants to inhabit now. Which, that sounded strangely sexual. Alright, so back to our Apocalypse and his four horsemen. So we have Storm, introducing her, another fan favorite. We have Psylocke, another fan favorite. And her powers are slightly rewritten, and I was really happy that the actress didn't have a lot of dialogue, because I've seen some other stuff that she's in, and she's not the greatest. We have Magneto, and we have Angel, aka Archangel. Those are our 4. We also have a returning character of Moira McTaggart. Her memory was wiped, if you remember back in first class. Well, she gets those all back, and she's back in the X-Men fold. Okay, overall, we have the X-Men versus the Four Horsemen, and this movie's really good. I was not bored at all through the entire movie, unlike Batman versus Superman, but we're not going to talk about that. And there's a lot of dialogue in it. There's a lot of character development, because you have the damaged Jean Grey because of her powers. You also get the, spoiler alert, I've already said that, but hey, spoiler alert. You get the introduction of her mega power of the Phoenix, but now it looks like they're rewriting that a little bit. It's not a cosmic entity as it was in the comics. We'll find out, because rumor has it that the next movie is going to be taking place in the 90s, and that's going to be the storyline. Who knows? This one just came out. Then we also have, there's so much stuff going on. So we have the X-Men versus the Four Horsemen, but you have so much character development that you have Jean Grey, you have Scott with his disability, with him not being able to control his power. And you have Storm, who's, I really like that they showed that she was a master thief in Cairo, and they actually gave her an African accent. Yay! So there was a lot of going back to the original information from the comics and staying true to that. So I thoroughly loved this movie. Also liked that they introduced, of course, Magneto being a tortured soul that's ongoing, but they introduced his other family. Magneto's had like a lot of families. That man gets around. Plus he's really hot, so so you'll find out about his side family, that he tried to like forget everything after DC, and he tried to start back up with, you know, another woman, has a kid that controls nature. With that, was kind of cool. She controls animals. I was like, oh man, I wish they would have stuck around instead of getting stuck through the heart with an arrow. Ooh, that sucked. But then we also have like Mystique and her reluctancy to accept that she's a hero, and she's looked up by all the younger generation of mutants, because she came out and was like, hey, I'm mutant and proud. So go out and see this movie. It's amazing. X-Men Apocalypse. Out of my 5 paws, this one's getting a 4. It's just, the only thing is, I wanted more. It left me just wanting more. So much more. But I think it's a great movie. Go out, see it. It's in theaters right now. X-Men Apocalypse. 4 paws from this bear. So until next time, have yourself a marvelous Marvel day. I couldn't even say that. I guess I'm tongue-tied. Maybe that's my mutant ability. Ooh, I'm Toad. So until next time, have a great day. Bye, Cublets!
I could go out in the darkness, see you calling my name. I hear you shouting, hear you calling, but it's not the same. Every word that you're throwing right into my back doesn't matter to me, cause I'm keeping my track. Let me go.